like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Huh, looks like bling blow, ayy. Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Huh, looks like bling blow, ayy. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Sun Solar Panel. Whether you're watching us on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page, the Sun Solar Panel YouTube page on Twitter, or listening to us on the podcast version, we truly appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Esposito. Oh, hoy, hoy. The man with the gray, gold, yellow, or not gold, gray, white hair, whatever you want to call it. He's Dave King. And then cameras like the 5G Performance Center to know that the man below me on the screen is the most efficient man on the show, even though the newest member is Saul Bookman. Gentlemen, how are you today?
You thought that was going to sound a lot better than it actually came out, didn't
Yeah, well, the Saul part came out good.
I was waiting for the salt and pepper beard, but that never came. So
I felt bad as I got into it and tried to soften the blow to you, and then it just went off the rails. But the Saul,
you don't
part
have to soften any blows. I'm good, man.
Well, welcome in. We survived a 2.5-hour marathon that had 64 guests on Wednesday. This is our third episode of the week, and it just keeps rolling.
And last, hopefully, unless something crazy happens today, which, I mean, knock on wood, you never know what's going to happen now.
We hope good crazy.
Yeah, hey, it's been fun for sure. Lots of big news in Suns world, and we got plenty more to talk about. Special guest coming up on the show shortly, Bino Ranson, assistant coach at Maryland. He's going to tell us everything we need to know about Jalen Smith. He's known Jalen since he started his basketball career as a kid in Maryland. So we'll get plenty of insight coming up. Before we move on to anything, we do owe you an apology. Saul and I did not show off our kicks on Wednesday night's episode. So these are what we were talking about. Very, very nice. They match the new Valley jerseys. So we're company men, of course. So that's we've got the footwear to prove it.
Oh, I think Espo's having some technical difficulties with his mic.
God, I thought that was me again.
That's all right.
So guys,
when he wiggles the cord too hard, he loses everything. So
I gotta switch up.
Man, I'm not going anywhere with that one. I'm letting that one go.
I'm the young. Let me just
you just knock him out. Let's go.
Let me just remind everybody. I am the youngest man on the show, so I don't know what they speak of. But so we are a few days removed from the draft. Free agency has started, but really hasn't started for the Suns so far. So
can we get hyped up for a second? Like I wanted to play this.
I don't know, Kevin.
I wanted to play this the other night, and I just feel like everybody in the chat's probably like, man, CP3 coming to Phoenix is pretty cool. But, you know, I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, man, it would be really cool if we can see some stuff that we saw early in his career, like especially with the Clippers. And there's one particular play Chris Paul made that just, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and play that one because it's awesome.
Here comes Chris Paul. The lob. Again! Oh,
hey, Saul, you got to drop the overlay.
Yeah, I see that. My bad. Well, that kind of sucks. Let's run that back, huh? Let's run that back. Let's do that again.
Here comes Chris Paul. The lob.
Oh, what a monster jam by DeAndre. That Jalen Smith going to be doing that dunk?
No.
How about DeAndre Ayton? Jeez, DeAndre, Chris Paul to DeAndre.
Look at the
man.
pace. Lamar Odom
I was trying to do a segue to our guest.
The best part of this clip is when they cut to the crowd and there's like a 10-year-old kid that's smacking his backside, like his butt. He's like that's the way you celebrate DeAndre Jordan destroying somebody off a Chris Paul lob.
I mean, taking his soul.
Yeah,
is what he did.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that might be my 4-year-old when we finally get to go to a game. Is that's how she'll react to a CP3 to DeAndre Ayton dunk. So, but yeah, look, that's what we're gonna see here, right? Is it's gonna be lots of lobs to guys like DeAndre Ayton, Jalen Smith. It's gonna be smart basketball plays from Chris Paul. It's
I want
gonna
to see
be
some
something we
soul
haven't seen.
snatching this year, man. That's what I want to see. I want to see some soul snatching from DeAndre this year. That's what I mean. I'm going to beat that horse until it's beyond dead. I'm just going to say that.
You can't put a different personality into him, though.
But
He's not a soul snatcher.
I've seen it. I've seen it from time to time before. Like I saw it at the Pac-12 tournament, sitting courtside, watching him just completely beast Metu from USC, and just like, dude, you're nothing right now.
I
like,
remember watching that whole
everything
Pac-12 tournament going, God damn, this guy is going to be so good.
So I've seen it before. So it's not like he doesn't have it in him. So,
by the way, on the receiving end of that poster was the man that we used to lovingly refer to on the show as the Walking Dead, Brandon Knight, took the poster on that. So I'm all right with DeAndre Ayton snatching the soul of Brandon Knight.
You got to hand it to Brandon Knight. Nobody was more willing to get dunked all over. Nobody his size has ever been more willing to get dunked all over.
That's because I feel like he was hoping he'd get a career-ending injury, because I never felt like that guy loved basketball. He was like, I still want my money, but I don't want to be doing this anymore, is what it always felt like.
Kind of look. I don't know what was up with that. He's a free agent, though, by the way. And there may be no free agents left. He might be the only one left on the market by the time.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. We can sign him for, a bag of cornflakes. We have our special guest waiting in the green room there, Espo.
Let's welcome in. I'm so glad he heard that, what we were just talking about there. But let's welcome in Bino Nader, the assistant head coach from Maryland. Bino, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. I'm Greg. You've got Dave and Saul with us as well.
How's it going, man?
How you doing? I'm doing great, man. How you guys?
Are you driving right now?
Yeah, I'm driving into work, man. I'm driving into work.
That's dedication.
I'm actually driving in to get my COVID test, because we're testing every day, so we can have a season. And so driving in to work, get my COVID test before we practice.
You guys are doing amazing work on the college basketball side to even get a season going. So we, as hoop heads, we appreciate that. Let's start here. Bino, what was it like on Wednesday night when you heard Jalen Smith's name called, as a guy who helped grow his game and helped get him to come to Maryland? What was it like to hear his name called?
It was rewarding. It was rewarding. It was a great feeling. It was just a lot of joy, in the room that day to hear his name called and to see him removed with a lot of emotions.
Tell us about his progression from a freshman to sophomore year, and how ready he is for the NBA in your opinion.
His progression was off the chart. If you followed us and you followed Jalen, you could see the growth in his game in every area. And I always like to go back to when we lost to LSU at the buzzer, and if you go back to that, you see how hard he took that loss, because he felt that he perhaps could have came across the lane, and the little kid, I think he's playing with the Celtics now, or he got MVP or Rookie of the Year in the D League. I forget his name, from LSU, but he made a shot on us, and Jalen thought he could have got the shot, and he didn't, and we lost at the buzzer. And he took it hard, and he took it upon himself to say, you know what, I'm gonna come back to school and I'm gonna get better. And that's what he did, with his body, with his shot, and just the whole, his whole.
Oh, frozen. He must have hit that.
Hit a dead spot.
Defensively,
here he is. There we go.
It helped us win a Big Ten title.
Well, Dino, I think one of the things that people want to know is, obviously, as
guys. Am I muted?
Oh, can you hear us?
Oh, we got you. We got you.
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
He might not be able to hear us.
Hold on. I might be
Okay.
muted, guys.
That's all right. And, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Bino? No.
Okay.
No.
We'll work on getting this hopefully
Yeah.
fixed
Well,
here.
what Jalen Smith is really got a great rep for is trying so hard. I mean, he works his butt off on the court. He does everything. He's always engaged. And James Jones talked about that on Wednesday night about what he liked about Jalen Smith is he is a professional. He is always focused. And the question is whether he can play side by side with DeAndre Ayton, or whether he's going to be primarily DeAndre Ayton's backup. We just don't know. But there are some people who are really in love with Jalen Smith as a prospect because of how hard he tries and because of his unique skill set. He can rebound at a high level. He can block shots. He's got a really good touch blocking shots with both hands, and he can make the long range shot. I mean, that is a coveted setup there.
Well, let's kind of circle back to the other night when we first learned about Jalen Smith and what Jeff Goodman had to say before we actually got to Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith is a 6'10" forward who plays hard and can score in a variety of ways. The former Maryland Terrapin is able to outrun opposing big men. He can step out and make shots from mid-range, and is also able to extend his range to the three-point line. That's his biggest strength, offensive versatility. On the other end, the defensive end, he uses his length to alter and block shots as a rim protector, and he also rebounds at a high level. Smith will need to add strength to his frame to be able to defend grown men in the NBA.
So I agree. I think everything I've seen on tape so far in the last couple of days, just kind of finding out more about him. I like what I see. I think, sure, he's raw, but every prospect in this draft is raw. Like, they're all like under 20 years old. They all have room to develop. They all have to find their man body, so to speak, right? Like, so him being one of those types of players is no different. So
one thing that's, and I don't know his game that well, but he kind of makes me think of a Miles Turner type in terms of not the quickest of foot. You know, Miles Turner, remember when Miles Turner came out? I don't know if you guys do, in the draft, people were saying his running style was really weird. He looked like he couldn't sustain himself running up and down the court. He's definitely not a switch guy. He's definitely not going to be someone who is going to switch onto a guard and stuff like that. But Miles Turner is really has carved out a really good career, and he kind of plateaued a little bit, but he's got the talent there to be really good as a stretch five type of player, or a stretch four next to another big, which he does play next to with Domantas Sabonis. So I see a good, all the skill set there to be really good. It depends on how hard he works and how much he figures out. I mean, just the Suns, I think, have already identified that some of his footwork issues are simply technique. And so we'll see.
But before we lost Bino, the one thing he was talking about was that dedication of Jalen Smith. And to me, that's what I like the most about this pick is he comes in with that drive. Everything I've heard is he's a guy that's locked in. He wants to do the little things. And it very much fits James Jones' culture question. Now, to me, I look at it and I go, they drafted a younger version of what they thought they could get out of Christian Wood, and obviously a much cheaper version. But everything I was hearing when it came to Christian Wood is that his dedication to the game wasn't there. Well, that with Jalen Smith, it sounds like that's not a question at all. This kid is fully and totally dedicated to the game and figuring out how to play better at each step of the way. And that excites me a lot, because when a lot of times you'll get these raw kids, kids that show potential on the college court, and then they come in and they don't have that dedication to continue to grow their game. All they've done is lived off of having better athleticism than the other kids in college. And when you get to the NBA, you can't live like that. You got to continue to grow your game. It sounds like Jalen Smith is prepared to do that. And that excites me immensely because we were all enthralled with what we thought Christian Wood could do in Phoenix. But I think Jalen Smith can do all those things and he's a cheaper option, more dedicated.
The other
Well,
thing
the question is, go ahead, Saul.
The other thing that I like about it is, all I could hear the other night in my, maybe I had tunnel vision, but everybody was like, why would they draft another big when they have DA and blah, blah, blah. Like they play the same position and yada. Like there's never been a big drafted by, even though a team had a big before. Like just think about the Celtics with Parrish and McHale, and then the Spurs with Duncan and Robinson. Like shut up and move on.
That's this year on Yeko Kongu.
Yeah, that's a terrible reason to not draft somebody. The Suns legitimately drafted the best prospect they thought was available on the board. Like, what's wrong with that?
And they needed the funny thing is, people wanted them to go sign a backup big. They had a hole there. Arguably they might still have a need there. So I don't understand the complaint about it. And in the chat they're talking about, oh well, Christian Wood, you can't say he doesn't have dedication with what he did. He's been on 5 teams. He's been cut, I believe, 3 times. Like, just keep that in mind as well.
A lot of success in the NBA is about above the neck, not, you get to the NBA with what's below the neck. You stay in the NBA with what's above it. And Christian Wood has made himself similar to, and I'm not saying there's any similarities really, but Hassan Whiteside really flushed out of the NBA for years and then came back and became almost a max level player. But he's still a guy that teams don't love having on their team. And, I've heard stories about how he didn't even know how to wash his own clothes when he first got to the NBA. So that's Hassan Whiteside. I don't know necessarily about Christian Wood, but it's above what's above the neck. And from what we've heard, Jalen Smith has all that.
Well, Bino is back in the chat and he's got his mask on. So let's see if we can. Bino, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
All right, there we go. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate it.
This is awesome. A live COVID test interview. This is great.
Well, when you look at Jalen's, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just
go ahead, Bino.
I just said it took like every bit of 4 seconds for the test, and now I'm in our beautiful arena, as you guys can see, watching our girls practice.
Very nice.
As I talk to you guys.
Nice.
So Bino, when you look at Jalen's game and you look at what it projects to be moving into the NBA, is there a guy that you've watched in the league that you think Jalen's skill set fits with?
Yes, I know. I like to get the guy from Toronto, Siaka, and then also I like Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson is somebody that I think that Jalen game is similar to.
Oh, that's interesting. Hey, how's Jalen do with collecting fouls and stuff like that? Is he good at defending without fouling, or does he still have to work on that?
No, actually, he's pretty good with defending without fouling. That's something that we drill every day in practice. We practice going up vertical, straight up, hands back, and he's good with that. But one thing that makes him unique is that he has exceptional timing. In terms of blocking shots and on the defensive end, coming across the lane, using the correct hand, to block the shot, and he just has a great field defensively.
I have a propensity to go to the negative side of things, so excuse me for this question coming up. But we all want to talk about the great things he can do, but what does he have to work on?
Well, I think physically, I think he's going to continue to have to work on it, his strength, because he's entering a man's league. I think perhaps putting the ball on the floor just a little bit more than he did in college. But he has some instances where he really put the ball on the floor and attack from the foul line. And because he could shoot the ball and stretch the defense, the defender's going to be closing out at him. And so I think that, him, working on his ball handling a little bit more and continue to expand his game, that'll help.
How NBA ready do you feel he is? Do you feel he can contribute in year one, or do you feel he'll be a guy that needs a little extra time working with the NBA coaching staff, but practicing against guys to be ready to have an impact?
I think he'll be ready, just because knowing Jalen, he's a driven kid, and when he's challenged, that's when he's at his best, because he always wants to impress you. He always would have impressed you. As you see him right now running the floor, you know, see him run money right there. He just want to impress you. So I think he's going to be ready. And I've seen that in his progression from high school to college and now moving on to the next level. I always tell the story. I remember he got cut from USA Basketball, and he was kind of disappointed. And he took it upon himself to have the next summer he had a great summer down at big time Nike Peak Stamp tournament. He had an unbelievable tournament, and he worked his way back up in the rankings, and he just really got better, right? And then USA Basketball came back and wanted him to come back for U19, something like that. He said nope. He said I'm gonna go to summer school, I'm gonna join my team, and I'm gonna get better. So he's always been that type of guy that just when he's pushed, you will see the best out of him.
Do you see him more as a stretch five, or do you see him able to play as a power forward next to another big guy like DeAndre Ayton, for example, with the Suns? What's his best role?
I think he do both, depending on the lineup. If there's a lineup where though he have to be the stretch five, I think he could do that. And also I think he could play that power forward spot beside like a DeAndre Ayton, just as he did his freshman year beside Bruno Fernando, who now plays for the Atlanta Hawks. I think he could do both.
All right.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about this, Bino. The nickname Sticks. Do you think that's something that will stick with him in the NBA? I know that's something Suns fans have been wondering about.
You know what? It might stick because that's just his name, Sticks. Now that's part of his brand. And I know we joke because he changed his body. He went from sticks to logs. But
yeah.
But I think it'll stick. I think it's a pretty cool name, and it helps tell his story.
You talking about the evolution of his body type. Do you think there's still a lot of room for him to grow on the physical side as well as he gets into an NBA training program and working out on a daily basis with the NBA training staff? Do you think he has room to grow there as well?
I think he has a little room to grow. He's done a great job thus far from high school to college, and I know our guy here, Kyle Top, has done an unbelievable job with Jalen's body. So I think there's a little more room for growth, and I think the NBA training guys. I think they'll lend some things to him.
All right. Well, Bino, before we let you go, any last thoughts? Anything else we should know about Jalen Smith? I know you got to get to work. So
you're getting a home run kid. You're getting a phenomenal kid. You're getting a jewel. I just think the world of the kid. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. We lost a tough game. And this type of kid you get. We lost a tough game. We should have beat Wisconsin. We didn't beat them. And we're coming back on the plane. And I walk to the back. He has his light on, doing his homework. Now we getting back at home like 3 or 4 in the morning, and he got to turn around and go to class at 8 a.m. And he does this. He gets his work done on the plane. He comes past the office, speaks to everybody after a tough loss, and he goes to class. So that's the type of kid you get.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Bino, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bino.
Best of luck this season, and thanks for giving us a home run kid. As you said, we're looking forward to seeing Jalen Smith play this year.
Thank you guys, man. And you guys, thanks for having me on. And I appreciate it. Anytime you need me, I'm here for you guys. And I wish Jalen the best, and you guys stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too, Coach. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Okay. Yeah.
Bino Ranson, the assistant coach from the Maryland basketball team, joining us here on the Suns Solar Panel to give us a little insight on Suns draft pick Jalen Smith. And
I think we got to stay with Sticks as his nickname. I don't care about that Logs thing. And then if they bring back Aaron Baines, man, we got to call him Sticks and Stones.
I love that when you look at Sticks, it combines two of the greatest nicknames for Suns big men ever, Stat and Matrix. Put them together, you got Sticks, and you look at some of it, you got some shooting, you got some dunking, you got rebounding and blocking. Maybe we got a guy that's a little bit two of our favorites.
I'm just happy that you didn't mention like the band Sticks or something like that
to
appeal to Dave's demographic, which
that's actually back in my demo, man.
Oh my
god,
gosh.
Band Sticks was awesome.
I'm not a hair band fan.
Yeah, everything was hair bands.
Look, when we listen to what Bino says, right? To me, sometimes you'll get a coach on after a guy's drafted, and they'll talk, in platitudes. They'll say nice things, but you can kind of tell it's just going through the motions. You could tell that Bino genuinely believes in Jalen Smith. You don't say what he said there at the end if you don't have a true belief in a kid. And that excites me even more. We talked about the dedication, but that final story, it just hammers it home. And everything he said, that makes me even more excited than I was prior to talking with Bino.
For sure. I think one of the things that, I don't know about you, Espo, but I know I've been around the Kansas State athletic program and the basketball team for a whole season. I've been around the University of Arizona program for a couple of years and just kind of following those. And I was in class, so I had some of those kids in classes. And to hear that story and that level of dedication, it rings so solid for me, because that tells you that this kid is like real serious about not only life, but his responsibilities. You know what I mean? And I mean, not only basketball, but his responsibilities. And you need guys that you can count on. Like, you need guys that, like, hey, like if I say show up to a Fry's because you have a fan engagement, you should be at Fry's for your fan engagement.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to see any more Josh Jackson.
So,
and I would have been so shocked if a Christian would have been a target. I look.
I haven't finished
we're
my
going to
thought,
transit.
Dave. I haven't even finished my thought. You just cut me off. Can I finish my thought real quick?
Yes, finish your thoughts.
So, to have a guy like that in the fold, especially with the history with some of these players that have come in, in the last 5 years that just didn't have that, right? They didn't have that level of dedication or respect for the position that they're in more than anything in the NBA. Like, you're getting paid. This isn't AAU. This isn't middle school. This isn't high school anymore. Like, you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but to this franchise and to the public. It's no longer just about you. And I think he's a kid that's going to get that.
Dave, would you like to continue your thought now as well?
I was just going to say that he fits the mold of what James Jones has been talking about for 2 years on bringing into this team. He purges the guys who don't fit personality wise, and he brings in the guys who do. And so as we transition into talking about free agency coming up, you're going to see that kind of guy being the dudes who are acquired either through trade or signings or whatever. The guys who are going to dedicate themselves to the game of basketball and not put themselves above the team. So I think Jalen in those ways looks like he fits perfectly. James Jones talked about that after the draft. Of course, every GM says this was my guy all along. I think I did hear that there were other guys they had ahead. Obviously, Jalen Smith wasn't number 1 on their board, but by the time they got to 10, he was a clear pick. And I think he will have a nice career because of the way he approaches the game. He's going to last a long time in the NBA.
Yeah, certainly agree. Before we move on to free agency from draft, I wanted to talk about one thing.
Which is why everybody's here.
Yep.
Well, look, everybody gets hung up on draft grades. Yes, way to go, Greg.
Grifting, yeah.
Draft grades, and likes to point at those to go, look, the Suns the Suns didn't pick the right guy. They got a C- from fillintheblank.com, and that stuff drives me nuts because I went back because I like to hurt myself in certain ways and looked at the draft grades from 2016. If you don't remember, that was the Bender Chris draft, right? So let's hop in the Wayback Machine and join me as we head to CBSSports.com the day after the 2016 draft. And Sam Vecini, a guy I love, we've had him on the show a while ago, gave the Suns an A for their draft. Kelly Dwyer over at Yahoo Sports, another guy I really respect, gives these Suns a B+, saying Bender and Chris were two ultra quick athletes who have moments both terrific. So Chad Ford at ESPN gives them an A, saying that Bender is very skillful, can guard multiple positions, and Chris is the freakiest athlete in the draft. So look, nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody has a crystal ball. These grades are instant reactions, and anybody that's a little concerned that the Suns may not have been at the best picks and may have even made it on some of the worst picks lists, it doesn't matter. 3 years from now is when you judge.
Who's the last non-guard to actually be worth anything in the NBA from the University of Washington?
Oh God.
Yeah,
you're going to have to help us.
The answer is there is none.
Oh,
there is none. So if you're looking for a forward or a center, do not look up into the Northwest. Period.
Hey, we got an awesome donation from Coda Kid while the last interview was going on. Coda, thank you so much for the donation. We're always happy to get some money, and I will talk about whatever you want me to talk about if you pay us. So we are going to spend a couple of minutes on Ty-Shon Alexander. We don't know a ton about him, but Brightside's own brightsideofthesun.com, the best Sun site out there. I haven't plugged myself for weeks. All right, brightsideofthesun.com, great site. We have our own guy, Brandon, AZ Sports Zone, covered Ty-Shon Alexander, actually interviewed him a few months ago when he was in town for a prospect workout. And the Suns did like him. They had mutual like for each other. And it's good that when he didn't get drafted, the Suns went straight for him on a 2-way contract. So he's this year's version of Jared Harper. However, he's totally different player than Jared Harper. He is actually defense oriented, slightly undersized, 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan. That's not that undersized, but slightly undersized for a wing. He does shoot the 3-ball pretty well. And he is another high effort guy who's going to go out there and bust his butt on defense the whole time. Can he make it on the Suns? I don't know. The Suns, that 11 to 15 roster spots, plus the 2-way are going to be where they have their young guys. There is still, although the G League season, I think, was canceled, so there won't be G League, but there would have been. So he's going to have to stay with the Suns if he makes the team. Now, the restrictions have been lifted on 2-ways this year, by the way. You don't need to have a cap of X number of days in the NBA and the rest in the G League. You can be the whole season on the NBA roster this year.
Yes.
So I expect Ty-Shon to be around the team the entire year, and we'll just see if he breaks into the lineup. Is he better than Jalen LeCue? We have no idea. We have no idea about any of this stuff until they actually play. But guys like with high effort, good sized NBA bodies, the dude, he does have an NBA sized body, Ty-Shon. Yeah, Lou Dort made it in OKC last year. Doesn't mean he's Lou Dort. It just means that Lou Dort was an undrafted dude who ended up in a starting lineup for a playoff team next to Chris Paul. That's all. But
again, I always go back, and going back to your draft remark there, Espo. The draft grades are like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. It's just useless, right? And going back to this, like Lou Dort had a very prominent skill set, and that skill set was defense. He's been known for defense when he was at ASU. And if you have, I always say this about draft prospects, if you have at least one marketedly good skill set at the NBA level where somebody can put you in and they don't have to worry about that aspect of you, like you can make it a very long time in this league, and the guys that struggle are the ones that are just kind of okay at everything, or they don't have that one skill set that really stands out. And that's the thing that I think, Ty-Shon Alexander is going to have to prove. Can he first of all, can he shoot the ball? I think more than anything else is probably what they're looking at because of his stats from last year. And he was a good player for a Seton Hall, but we'll see.
So
he made almost 40% of his threes.
Yeah.
So Kramer versus Kramer in the Periscope chat wanted to know, how do you sign a two-way guy if you don't have a G League team? The Suns will be assigned a team that they can assign players to. It's kind of like what they used to do prior to having their own G League team in the NAZ Suns. Yeah. Before we move on to free agency, Dave, I just want to say I think you gave us our new show tagline. It's Sun Solar Panel. If you pay us money, we'll talk about whatever you want. So that is the new show
within
tagline.
reason.
No, we'll talk about whatever you want is basically what it comes down to. But let's move on to free agency.
Do you really want life advice from us?
Reason.
I'll give you advice on anything for $5. So throw it in there.
But it'll be advice.
Yeah, I'll do anything for $5.
Hey, any advice you want, $5 will get it to you. Free agency.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to start free agency with our favorite segment on the show, Espo's Big Board, just simply because
I'm threw that out of nowhere.
I'm going to do the top 5 free agents the Suns have signed this offseason. And that's Espo's Big Board right there. We're done. Okay, that's all we got. They have signed nobody so far in free agency. Everybody was on high alert yesterday at around 4:00 Arizona time as free agency started. And I think we've moved down to about DEFCON 5. Nobody is overly concerned right now because nothing is really happening. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. Fans, I know everybody wanted the big splash. They wanted the big news seconds into free agency. But I feel like James Jones has a plan. And I always feel like that going into this. And really, if you look at the contracts that have been signed, you look at 3 years, $41 million for Christian Wood. You look at what Gallo got. I think it was 3 years, 60 from Atlanta. Like you look at Detroit signing every other free agent center for astronomical amounts of money to make a roster that makes no sense. This wasn't the part of the store the Suns were going to be able to shop in. We knew that. When you only have the mid-level exception and the biannual exception, it was too rich for your taste, right? You just weren't going to get involved on those, and that's fine because I think there's still guys out there that will be very valuable to add to this team when you look at the list. So why don't Dave, why don't you share your thoughts when you're looking at who's left, the best of the rest, what do you think is guys Suns should look at?
Thank you. People were freaking out last night.
There you go, Dave. Luka Garza.
I know.
There you go. You asked for it, you shall receive.
He shares a name with that guy who we don't talk about from Dallas. So thank you for your $5, but we can't discuss him. That's
I'll tell you what. Espo's going to quick Google him while I'm answering the question he just posed to me. So who's still out there? Yeah, everybody, a lot of Suns Twitter anyway, was freaking out last night that so many names are coming off the board. Well, but when Jeremy Grant's getting $20 million a year, it's okay for his name to go off the board and go to the new New York Knicks, who a year ago signed all the big men. Now it's Detroit signing all the big men. Christian Wood was actually a fairly okay deal going to Houston, but there were very few okay deals last night. They were mostly overpays, but there are still a lot of guys out there that were already like the guys that we thought the Suns would target are still on the market, including our own Aaron Baines. If the Suns want to bring him back, they can exceed the cap and use his bird rights to re-sign him. If he didn't come off the board last night, it's quite possible he's affordable enough. He could be used in a sign and trade, or he could just be brought back. I mean, why not bring back Aaron Baines? You got sticks and stones on your front line. But you've still got, here's the guy still out there. Fred VanVleet, which is interesting. The Suns obviously don't have the money for him. DJ Augustin, though, is a guy who's out there who could be used some portion of the mid-level exception to sign. He'd be a great backup for Chris Paul. Serge Ibaka would be a great front court veteran out there. Serge is like the dude that I think the Suns should be focusing on. I think their biggest competition for Serge, although there'll be a lot of competition, but I think the biggest competition for Serge will be the Clippers. Now that the Clippers lost JaMychal Green and Montrezl Harrell in one night, they need a big, and they also see themselves as a championship contender with Kawhi and Paul George. So I think the Clippers are going to try hard for Serge, but that's a guy the Suns should be targeting.
I think Toronto is going to try hard to bring Serge back too.
Sure, absolutely. Toronto can exceed the cap just like the Suns can exceed it for Aaron Baines.
I think Serge winds up out of your price range in this.
Probably, but again, like I'm going to go back to your Fred VanVleet point. Okay, great player, like just a solid guard all the way around, one of the best guards in the league, but I think GMs get in their own way a lot of times, and they look at his size and all this other stuff, despite the fact that he's already proved that he could play in the NBA. Yeah. I think he might slip. You never know. I'm not trying to get everybody's hopes up or anything like that, but I
just don't see the Raptors bringing both back, right? I mean, for a big price,
one of them's got to go.
Right, one's got to go. I don't know if the Suns can afford either of them. I'm just saying those are good targets. Now, Paul Millsap is another good target as a veteran, although he looked like he was falling off a cliff last year.
Yeah, I want Serge Ibaka.
Okay, Serge Ibaka for
Serge Ibaka is my guy. Like I want to watch. I want to watch Serge Ibaka play with this team. I want to see him. You know, everybody talks about Chris Paul mentoring. Serge Ibaka would be a great mentor for somebody like a DeAndre Ayton as well, like just solid all the way around.
Look, my wish list is Augustine, Millsap, Noel. If you're going to fill this out, give me a solid backup guard. Give me a veteran power forward who can help things up. Dario is all but likely back, and then you bring Noel as a backup center on a minimum. I think that's a team that you go, okay, I can see this team competing in the West. I think it gives you the right amount of veteran mix and young guys, and can give you enough to get you in the conversation.
Jay Crowder's another good target as well. I mean, he got Miami to the conference final, or the actual finals, and then he almost shot Miami out of it. So he's a hot and cold dude, right? He made like 50% of his threes, helped Miami get all the way through the East, and then he made almost no threes in the finals. So he's a hot and cold guy, but he's good as a stretch, as a small power forward type. Jay Crowder could be good. Langston Galloway's another good target as a shooter off the bench.
And I actually spoke to a couple sources close to Langston Galloway, and I know he has the Suns on his short list of potential teams he'd like to come to as well. So that's a name that I don't know what the Suns' level of interest is, but I can tell you the player has some interest. So that's an interesting name to me as well.
So somebody in the chat asked about Gordon Hayward, and I'm going to say right now, like, there's no chance. There's no way.
And there's no somewhere to sign a trade.
Yeah, it's either Indiana or Boston.
You guys a big question. So right now, as far as trade options, the Suns really only have sign and trade options with Dario and with Aaron Baines, where you can do the salary for salary and get some dude who's not a free agent. Who would you trade DeAndre Ayton for? That's going around Suns Twitter. Now let's just wait. Let's just entertain it. What's the kind of guy? If Anthony Davis wants to come to Phoenix, I would trade DeAndre Ayton.
The problem is DeAndre Ayton's still on a rookie deal. This whole thing is dumb. Why? No,
let's just entertain it for a minute.
Why did drafting Jalen Smith start the DeAndre Ayton might get traded crap? If you don't think that DeAndre Ayton is where you need him to be in the NBA, why do you think you could trade him and start Jalen Smith, who isn't where he needs to be? He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no. You'd start like Serge Ibaka. Look. I only want to entertain. I don't want to trade DA either. I'm trying to make the point that I would only trade him for like a top 10 dude right now because his potential is so high.
Again, like this is where Suns Twitter like completely loses me. Okay. Again, when you play GM, if you don't even think DA is that valuable, why the hell do you think another franchise is going to think he's that valuable? Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
you know, and
He is
everybody,
pretty freaking valuable, right?
you think the Lakers would trade Anthony Davis for DeAndre
No.
Ayton? Like
Yeah,
it would
right.
never happen. Like why would you
Right.
go from an unproven commodity or a proven commodity to an unproven commodity? Like
Look,
the level of exaggeration and mythology out there is just, come on.
it's because
Just let it go, man.
because a lot of people think they're smarter than the GMs in the NBA, and that's where these kind
Well,
of things
yeah.
come from. And it's fine. It's fine. That's what part of being a fan is you're allowed to have an opinion, even if it's wrong, and you're allowed to debate things, even if they're crazy. Trade prospects.
You
That's
say
why
crazy, I say stupid, but
that-
okay.
That's why I always say friends don't let friends use the ESPN trade machine. That's just the way my stance has always been. But if we're going to talk, is there a guy you might consider trying to figure out a trade for and using a sign and trade to try to do it? I think you look no further than Atlanta and Collins out there as a potential trade target. The moves they've made make it look like, well, he's the odd man out, and maybe you can find a way to work a deal to get a guy like that in. But James Jones is going to have to be creative to fill out the back half of this roster and add talent. But I think he's seen it done. I mean, he was one of those back half of the roster guys that got filled in on championship teams as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of work. And we have the most impressive thing is we have heard very little leaks. There's been very little coming out that's been leaked out of what the Suns' plans are. And that's becoming a hallmark of this front office. You don't get a lot of teasers until something happens.
Very
Well,
true.
Lewis Lee in the chat hit the nail right on the head. There's no way Chris Paul comes to the Suns. All-star Chris Paul takes himself completely off the market, forces his way to the Suns without bringing somebody with him. He's not going to come here just by himself and say, "I can carry these little guys."
Yeah, Melo.
He's bringing somebody.
He's bringing Melo.
Better than Melo. Better than
And the
Melo. I
banana
think
boat.
that's why I'm
But
I'm
who?
lasered in on Serge.
Is there
love
even a Surge connection with CP3?
No, I don't know.
No,
I don't
like-
think so.
I mean, if we're gonna play CSI Twitter with the Phoenix Suns right now, I don't know who the guy that is connected to CP3 that's coming here that that everybody's expecting at this
I
point.
thought it was
right?
Danilo Gallinari for
Yeah,
a while.
well, that
He got
obviously
$20
wasn't the
million
case.
a year. He is the oldest dude to sign for $20 million a year who's never made an All-Star game.
He's made almost $200 million in his career without making an All-Star game. That guy
Wow.
knows how to work free agency.
I
so-
understand the thought that CP3 was going to come and he had to have brought somebody, but again, he doesn't write the checks. So, if James Jones says, okay, well, CP3's got connection with, let's just say Serge Ibaka, and Serge Ibaka's like, yeah, I'm definitely interested in going to Phoenix, and they offer him the mid-level exception and maybe something else or whatever. And then all of a sudden the Knicks come in with like a $20 million a year offer. Well, yeah, I don't care how much CP3 wants me to go to Phoenix. I'm going to take this 20 mil. So I understand the perspective that this guy's going to bring some extra tools with him, but yeah, it's never a guarantee. And I think right now the Suns are just kind of plodding along, and they're going for value right now. And if you don't think they're going for value, then you're sorely mistaken. They're not going to overpay for anybody right now. Like, they are waiting for this market to kind of cool down a little bit, and then they're going to strike. And I think that when they strike, they're going to get a solid player that I think the fan base will enjoy.
Fabio
Would
says,
you guys go
hold
ahead?
on, Fabio in the chat says Tyson Chandler. They played together in New Orleans.
Jesus.
So thank
As a
you,
towel
Fabio,
waiver.
for that suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Would you guys pay the entire mid-level exception for DJ Augustin?
I wouldn't, but that's just me.
It depends on the market, because honestly, you need a solid veteran backup guard. Because if CP3 gets hurt for any extended period of time, I love Campaign, I love Javon Carter, but are you comfortable with them starting 5 games in a 72 game season when you're trying to make the playoffs? I'm not.
David West.
David West. Pretty sure he's been retired
man.
for like 3 years. Even he went, and when he was in Golden State, I'm washed. I can't.
Even he's laughing at that one.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't know. But to me, the biggest question here is, where do the Suns view themselves? Do they view themselves as trying to be a championship contender this year? Do they view themselves as just trying to get in the playoffs and being happy with that? Because that determines what these moves will look like, and whether or not we're happy with those moves. To me, if you go get Chris Paul, you probably should be charting a course to trying to get to the Western semis, the Western finals,
Yeah.
with the hopes that maybe you should
Right.
surprise the people and get to the NBA finals. You don't make that kind of move just to be the 7th seed, in my mind. But we're going to find out where they view themselves, because they're going to have to make moves that either show they're all in trying to win this year, or that they're just happy, being part of a conversation they haven't been in a while, which is where Chris Paul gets.
There's
Oliver
another player
Miller.
out there that everybody kind of talks about. And it's kind of come up a couple times, and I think it would have to be a trade. But George Hill, George Hill has been a rumor out there for quite a bit, and that's somebody that I would fully trust to come in. And side note, I beat him in NBA Jam one time when he was playing for the Spurs.
Sweet.
And
That is the weirdest humble brag. Who goes, yeah, I beat George Hill in
I beat him in
NBA
a video
Jam.
game.
I didn't realize I was playing against George Hill. He's like, you want to run? I was like, let's do it. And I played and I beat him. And then I looked over. I was like, oh shit, it's George Hill. I mean, whatever, man. Just beat his ass. Anyway, so George Hill would be great defensively. He's solid. A veteran of. I mean, I think he's been in the league for like 10 years now. Just a solid overall player. So I would like to see a George Hill type player
You got
come
to
here.
do a salary thing, though.
You do.
man.
You do.
And that's the thing is it's got to be a sign and trade of
And
either
yes,
Baines or
I will-
Dario.
I will put some money into the swear jar. My bad.
Teams are making so many trades right now. I don't know who's on anyone's roster anymore, but Steven Adams did just go to the Pelicans. Derek Favors left the Pelicans. I actually think that's a downgrade for the Pelicans, because Derek Favors, when he was healthy last year, he's the one who made the Pelicans relevant in the middle of the season when Zion was playing. Everyone gave credit to Zion, but it was really Derek Favors defensively. And I just think Steven Adams is on the backside of his career at this point. So I think that was a downgrade. However, I think that also takes Aaron Baines out of their wish list. So you got to hope maybe a Dario sign and trade, but I think the Suns like Dario and they want to bring him back.
Sure. Yeah, people in the chat are talking about like, well, he already got traded to OKC, so Hill's off the board. No, I mean, look at Kelly Oubre has gotten traded twice. Like players get traded twice. It's not.
Trevor Ariza has been traded 4 times in the last 48
Yeah,
hours.
I mean,
all
like,
right?
so that's that.
Speaking of
And plus,
trades,
look at the Pelicans
Yeah.
roster. They got like 1 million guards. Like somebody's got to go.
Right. Yeah, Lonzo Ball. Let's bring LonzoAll in. At this point, I wouldn't mind Lonzo Ball as a third guard.
I
Dave's
wish
just
it into
throwing names
existence.
out.
I
I'm
wish
just
it
throwing
into
names out.
existence. My
Hey,
boy is gonna bring a championship to
so let me
Phoenix.
throw a little nugget at you that I verified with Bobby Marks after he tweeted it. I was like, "Are you sure?" And he said, "I'm sure." Used to be in the front office, now works in a front office for the Nets. Now works for ESPN. He's been a guest on Solar Panel. Bobby Marks said that free agents who sign right now can be traded as early as December 14th.
Wow.
Before the season even starts. Can you imagine you
they
sign
never
with a team and they're just ship you out in 2 weeks?
Back. They just went, let's keep that one there. We're going to
Yeah.
ship everything, but let's.
I was like, before the season starts, he said, yep.
That's pretty awesome. That
Wow.
they're like, forget it. This could be completely chaotic. By the way, I want to take a step back, and I'm going to give my Luka Garza, since there were a few shekels thrown our way for it. My Luka Garza analysis here. He looks like Guy Smiley from Sesame Street. That is your Luka Garza analysis for your $5.
Espo, I know you're younger than us, but when you use a word like shekels, you're definitely dating yourself.
Feel
He's a
comfortable,
wannabe
all
oldie.
right? I want Dave to feel comfortable. So
Shoot, I don't even use shekels. I don't think I've said that once in my life, dude.
So
maybe you make my dad feel better. I don't know.
So okay, we've talked about who could be, the names available, what might be in a perfect situation over the next 48, 72 hours. What name do you want on the Suns roster Do you want to see James Jones make it happen? So we'll start with you.
Oh, I've already said it multiple times. Serge Ibaka. That's the one guy that if they got, I would be extremely excited about. Everybody else is like, it's a good move, but Serge Ibaka moves the needle for me, more than any other player, just because of what he could bring to the table. And so I think they need somebody like that, especially if you do lose Baines. You need somebody that is a big that can also shoot from the perimeter. And Serge has shown that he has that ability to shoot from the perimeter. So bringing him in, I think, would be a nice compliment to what they're trying to do.
Well,
how about you? You would be the next logical person.
If you've already taken Serge, then I'm gonna shoot for the moon, and I'm gonna go with one of my favorites who's never put on a Suns uniform, but he did put on a Suns hat at one point, and that's going to be Bogdan Bogdanovic. It's not going to happen. The Suns don't have the assets for the sign and trade, but God, he would be ideal. He's looking at
they have DeAndre Ayton.
No, I only threw that out there so that we could establish that I'd only trade him for a top 10 player in the whole freaking league, and no one's going to trade a top 10 player for DeAndre. But let's go to Bogdan. Bogdan is a really great third guy who would not mind. He wants to start in Sacramento. He's not going to start in Sacramento. They just drafted Tyrese Halliburton. He's leaving. He's a restricted free agent. The trade to Milwaukee fell through. It still might happen, but it fell through. He's looking at $16-18 million a year. That's a lot of money, but he's guy can score 15, 16 points a game, dish out 3 or 4 assists, make all your threes that you need. Perfect off the bench. The Suns, how could they put that together? Yeah, it would have to be Sacramento would really have to want Dario. Let's go with Dario here.
I also think something funny is about to happen with Brandon Ingram. It was mentioned in the chat, like, why hasn't he gotten his extension?
Yeah.
I think something's afoot there, and I think Brandon Ingram could be on the move.
That is
not to Phoenix, but just on the move.
But that is a guy, if there's any way you could pull some strings and figure out how to make that work, that's a name that you add that to this mix, and all of a sudden I'm feeling a lot better about their chances to advance past that first round in the playoffs. It's a boatload of talent. I think he would fit here, would fill a need. That I don't know that and I doubt they could make it happen numbers wise. But if that's a name that's even a possibility, man, that would definitely move the needle for me. In all likelihood, like I said, I think we're looking at Augustine and Millsap is going to be as sexy as this gets, but that might be just enough to make you in the conversation. I think it shores up a lot of things, brings in veteran leadership, and those are names that intrigue me right now that are left on the list. Like you said, there's not a lot. Bogdan's an interesting one too, Dave. It's another one I don't know how they necessarily
I don't know how they
figure out how to make it happen.
And Brandon Ingram's even harder.
Yeah, no.
Work.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to get immensely creative, and I don't know that that's even a possibility. It's just a name that's interesting.
I also think, sure, there are teams out there that are going to spend and go into the luxury tax and stuff like that. The Suns, I do not believe, are going to be one of those teams. I think they're going to approach this very sensibly because of the state of affairs in this country right now. And I mean, things aren't rosy everywhere. Like, there are teams out there that are having to make decisions not only on the basketball court and who's going to play, but also, behind the scenes. And unfortunately that does exist for a lot of teams, including the Phoenix Suns. And so I think there's a level of approach that I thought that they took yesterday that I thought was actually more respectable because of the fact that, they had some moves that they unfortunately had to make. And now you're talking about, spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on a player. Like, I just didn't feel like that was the right time to do it. Now, today is a little bit different. Right? It's a day. Right. Yeah. So I think the Suns are approaching this in a very respectable way. I think they're not going to overspend. They're not going to go crazy. They're going to get a player that is going to fit into the mix, that is fiscally responsible, until this whole pandemic kind of wears out and is done with. And then I think they make a bigger splash in year 2 of CP3 more than year 1.
You look at a lot of the numbers from yesterday, there's some Timothy Mozgov kind of deals in yesterday. Yeah. There's going to be some massive buyer's remorse come a year or
someone
two
made
now,
a good point that these are some of these guys, like a Myers Leonard signing for 10 a year. He's not worth more than minimum, but they made a good point that a lot of these are 2-year deals with second-year team option, and B, because of you can trade those. Those are tradable salaries. So you might see, like, especially with December 14th being the day you can trade these guys, you might see a Myers Leonard be traded by December 4th or whatever. Some of these Detroit guys being signed could be traded again. So there are teams who are lining up some of these dominoes for later moves. And like you said, maybe Brandon Ingram, if they can't come to an agreement with Brandon Ingram or John Collins in Atlanta, there could be some, although John Collins is not on a big contract, and he's not up for anyway. Some big guys who need to be moved could be moved because of these salaries that are signed on last night.
One name from the chat that I totally forgot about, but I'd be all in if James Jones decided to add to the mix is Boban.
Oh, God.
I'd take me some Boban just for the entertainment value.
I love that Suns fans hate the fact that Jalen Smith might not be able to switch onto the game's best point guards,
but they want the slowest center in the history of the league to do it.
Let's sign Boban.
Let's sign the NBA's version of Andre the Giant. I'm all in. He's entertaining. That's all I need from.
Look, he's awesome for a locker room. If you just sign him for never playing, that's great. And
George,
like Dallas did, play him for 5-minute stretches where he gets 10 and 10 in 5 minutes, and then sit him down.
George Mirzon 2.0 right there.
Yeah, there you go.
He'd be this generation's Pat Burke in Phoenix, and I'm all right with that. So I think we've run through everything we can in free agency. I'm impressed. We talked for 25 minutes and nothing has happened on the Suns front in general. So I think we've done that. But I believe we have a new segment here. Is that right,
yeah.
Sean?
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
We got wow. A little Willy Wonka there.
Hells yeah.
Gene
Because that's
Wilder.
like oh yeah, imagine this. So yesterday, or actually 2 days ago, was I believe it was the 20th anniversary of the Malice in the Palace, something like that. And if you don't remember that, that was a little rough. But I'll play it for you. So that's always fun, right? But a lot of people have assumed that the first Detroit Pistons fan to walk onto the court is none other than Jerry Ferrara, aka Turtle from Entourage. And so every year he comes on and he says, "Yeah, I guess it's that time of year, 15 years ago today, whatever." So he's like, I'm not the guy. He's a Knicks fan anyway, so him being in Detroit for that game would be a little ridiculous.
Wearing a Pistons jersey. Yeah.
So imagine this. Let's just say there was a fight that broke out and you were the opposing team. Who is the one Sun in the history of this franchise that you would not want to fight?
Stephon Marbury is the guy that the dude ate Vaseline on the live stream on the internet. Like, that's a total wild card. Like, that's not the kind of guy you want to wind up in a fight with. Sebastian Telfair is a close second. All right. Like, those are two guys. They may be small in stature, but I'd still be terrified to fight them. Both from New York.
He's still bigger than you.
I think Sebastian Telfair is probably fighting in prison right now.
Yes, yes. He made some poor life choices after his basketball career. Yeah. Thus, it also makes it clear why I wouldn't want to fight him. So that would be two guys I would not want to mix it up with.
Man, this is twice in the past month that you've talked about fights, Espo, in different contexts.
I'm not
who's a guy?
Anybody, all right?
To rock him, sock him. Who's a guy who I would not want to fight would be freaking Aaron Baines. That dude is a tree, and he would just like an ent, and just boom, and just knock you down, just boom, right on the head, and you're just out. And then he'd grill you on his Barbie.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight Kurt Rambis just because I think that dude is just so kind of crazy that he would probably bite and pull and scratch and yank you from parts you didn't want to be yanked. Like, I just that's what I think. I think Kurt Rambis is the one guy that I wouldn't want to fight. Close second would be Charles Barkley.
Another dude I would not want to fight is Danny Shays. Do you see the hair on that dude when he's playing basketball?
and his rec specs.
AKA
Yeah.
I wouldn't want
AKA
his sweaty body.
AKA Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah, I got you.
I'm sorry, Danny Shays is not a guy I'm afraid of. A, slow. B, he's wearing rec specs. He looks like a guy you'd play in the YMCA. Danny Shays, for the youngins listening to this, Google
I just
him.
respect
Not
him
the
for
guy I'd be
never
afraid of.
He'd be more he'd be most likely to be the person that I don't want to have to guard while he has his shirt off when we're playing shirts versus
That's
him.
it. That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean,
is
your
you
face
don't
just
wanna play
slaps up against a
basketball.
sweaty, hairy body. Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh.
It's like the scene from Along Came Polly with Philip Seymour
Exactly.
Hoffman. You don't
Oh
want
man,
that.
you guys remember Paul Shirley? He was a
Rain Man.
deep bench guy back in the 04-05
Yes.
season. He started an ESPN blog, and he's written some books since then. He came through Phoenix last year before, promoting one of his books. And one story he told was, it's in his books, but he talked about it at the book signing, was playing in Europe. Those dudes, they purposely don't shower for weeks, so and they're just sweaty as hell, and they're part of their playing defense is they smell so bad you don't want to go anywhere near them. That's on purpose.
In the chat they say Shaq. Yeah, no human being should ever want to fight Shaq. You remember the clip of Barkley
No.
trying to fight Shaq? Like,
Yeah, but Shaq wasn't a really good fighter though. He
Doesn't
just was just
matter.
big.
he's 7'3" and weighs as much as a Mack truck. Like I'm 5'8". I'm dying if I get in a fight with Shaq. All right, and
Ooh,
perplexed.
this is a good one.
Oh
Robin
man,
Lopez.
Robin Lopez.
Yeah.
I don't think I would
can
want
beat
to
up
fight
a
Robin.
mascot like nobody's business.
Look
Yeah.
though, I've hung out with Robin Lopez back in his son's days, and dude is the sweetest guy. Like,
Oh yeah.
he loves Disney. Like, we went and saw a Batman movie together. Like, I think the whole him being a tough guy kind of thing is overblown. Could he have a temper? Sure, but I'm not afraid
No,
of
there's
Robin Lopez.
again, all these players have a switch. They all have a
Yeah.
switch.
That's
You know, like
true.
The crazy
everybody
switch.
has that
Yeah.
alternate personality. And when you go to that competition does weird things to people. And
That's
Robin
true.
Lopez, as soft and as awesome as he is off the court, on the court, there's moments there where you're like, that
Yeah.
dude's kind of psycho right there. Like,
Yeah.
that's, awesome dude.
He definitely had
Love
the
him to
crazy
death.
eyes.
I love
Speaking of crazy eyes, maybe next week, the guy that I'll put on my list
Where you
will
go?
be Bobby Portis.
he could be a son by
He
then.
punched
and
his
yes,
own
he would make the
teammate
list. Yeah.
last year.
How about Perplex Damage? One of our flaming ballers in the chat says, Espo's so short, he wouldn't want to meet Barkley at a bar. That's a throwback to Barkley throwing a man my size through a plate glass window back in the
I love-
90s. But
I lo-
I've met Charles Barkley at a bar. I've told that story on the show before.
Yeah.
And it ended up with a great photo of me, him, and Tom Chambers behind the bar at Marley's. So I'm not afraid of Charles at a bar. He's quite nice, I can say.
He had a
from
great
experience.
story about getting approached when he was walking out of a bar one time by like three guys who were trying to start a fight, and he's like, "I wasn't going to win that fight." So he said he threw
walk
off his shirt and he started acting crazy just so they would get away from him.
Espo, you just got on me for 2 humble brags in 2 weeks, and then you just double
Yeah.
name dropped in the
No,
last
he's the name.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't George Hill NBA jam it. I gave you
I was drinking at a bar with Barkley.
and
Yeah.
Or me and Robin Lopez went to go see Batman together.
Yeah.
What?
Espo's got some talents, and not the least of which is name dropping.
Hey, look, and my name drops are A+ name drops. I don't bring the Saul Bookman. I met a guy who was third
Online.
string, and I once walked into him on the road.
No,
I
these are all
bring the
legit
gold.
people that I beat at NBA Jam. Okay, that's not humble brag. That's fact.
That's a double humble brag. You're saying I'm good at NBA Jam and I beat an NBA guy.
That's
all
the
right?
only humble brag you should ever do is
I
a
think-
double.
I think you and I should keep a humble brag scoreboard, and we should see who name drops the most on the Sun's solar panel. I think
Well,
we're out of topics now.
I've exhausted all my resources, so yeah,
We've-
you're gonna win that.
We've dragged our feet to see if the Suns would sign anybody while we were live. They have not. So we're in hour 832 of waiting for a free agent
Hey.
move in Phoenix. So
Just a quick mention. I want to say I'm glad for Kelly Oubre and Ricky Rubio getting soft landings after being traded to OKC. I think Kelly's going to have a good year in Golden State, and I think Ricky is going to have a good year up in Minnesota. The Suns are still better than both teams, but I'm glad they went to somewhere they can play.
Look, Kelly Oubre's landing was made a million times better because he no longer has to wear the logo of a truck stop on his jersey. It just felt wrong that in OKC he was going to have to wear a truck stop logo, who's their corporate sponsor, when the guy's all about fashion. So that alone
Sam
makes
Presti's
Kelly
working
Oubre
this
work.
offseason. They are just basically a truck stop this next year.
for guys. That's true. Any final thoughts, Saul, from you before we get out of here?
No, it has been one crazy week. And I don't know if we could have launched this partnership at a better time. Granted, I am exhausted from all of it. But yeah, I mean, we've done 4 shows in the last 8 days. And that's a pretty significant feat for a podcast / live stream. And we had a lot of people help behind the scenes. Thank you guys for everything that you guys were doing in terms of, keeping this show running and making it smooth and easier for me to just kind of transition into this. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the love people have been showing me on social. So a humble brag. Thank you.
These are the salad days. Espo and I with our old buddy Tim, we made it through the pandemic for months with 0 sports going on. And we kept this thing alive on life support, but we kept it alive. Yes.
Look, I just did the rough math, and we've done almost 7.5 hours of live streaming in the last 8 days. So you've all been with us. We appreciate each of you, and really glad that you've stuck with us. A big thanks.
Got another donation. I set myself up, man, saying we'll talk about anything for money.
All right.
Perplex Damage. What former son would fight me for Robert Horry? Fight for me, Robert. What former son would fight for me, Robert Horry? Okay.
That was very well worth stopping the end of the show.
Sorry.
Thank you for Perplex Damage. We appreciate
Robert
the donation.
Just shove you into the sidelines. That's all he'd do.
Sure. I'll fight Robert Horry for you if that's what the question is. Sure, you gave me $5, I'm in. So, so a big thank you to our friends.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it. Love you.
Good call, Max.
Big thanks to our friends over at Fox Sports Arizona for all their help, all the production work this week, and all the promotional work as well. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to like Fox Sports Arizona on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram, and give them a watch wherever your cable provider is. So for Dave King, you can find him at Dave King NBA on Twitter. I'm not going to do the NBA stands for, he's trying to build his own confidence. It's just not worth it. And then
you're not going to do that. Saul's not going to have final thoughts. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so you can find Saul Bookman at Saul_Bookman on the Twitters. Leave him a fleet because everybody is fleeting right now. I guess. I don't know. You can find me at Espo. You can find the show at Sun Solar Panel.
I declined to fleet.
So hopefully until next week, unless something big breaks and we are here 3 more times before next Saturday, we'll talk to you next time here on the Sun Solar Panel. Ahoy, ahoy.
Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Looks like bling blow, ayy. Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Looks like bling blow, ayy.